Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline studio. I'm Sybil Muschik and behind the camera is Joshua Blanc. We're talking about Farwell Canyon today and it's been all in the news. It suffered a catastrophic avalanche of mud, dirt, and covered the entire Chilcotin River at one point, and it started to back up, created a huge lake, and then slowly, bit by bit, it released and then swept downstream in a huge torrent. Now, one of our favorite places is the what is it, Josh? The
Pothole.
Pothole, yeah, Pothole Ranch. And it was in a sort of a narrow piece of land close to the river, like a beautiful little valley. And one of our favorite places to visit and photograph. We were there in 2020. We did a lot of photographs, thank goodness, because now that entire piece is being swept away, including the pothole cabin or log building that was there. So we're all kind of devastated about this. So anyway, if you look further back, and we'll post them, some of our episodes have been on Farwell Canyon and the log house there, and you know, the environment of it. And I've got a few pictures to show you of the area. And we are today going to be talking about the color of sage. All around there is just enormous amounts of sage. And of course, the color of sage is quite problematic. And you can struggle with it for a long time. Now, I have here some, just some swatches trying to get the color of sage. And I also have some leaves here from my garden, but this is closer to a sap green and not the sage of the Chilcotin, which is much bluer and grayer. So here, this is closer, but don't forget it's gone through a generation of a printer, and so it takes some of the color away. And this is a bit closer, but maybe a little too intense, but you know, it's in the ballpark. We will be working with this sage bush, and it's in flower. At the time that we were taking this picture, it was October the 10th, the sage is all blooming. It's a very late blooming plant. And it's very hardy. It seems to survive generation after generation and has no problem being in a desert-like environment. And it's a beautiful plant, and of course it smells heavenly. And my sage here is very intoxicating. Okay, so here are some of the hoodoos in the area, and you can see why it's very easy to have landslides, because the water erodes it, and that area particularly suffered from some devastating fires. So there's nothing to hold the land together, and so as we have rain, and we had quite an abundance of rain this spring, and then again later on in early summer. So there was nothing to hold the banks up, and of course that washed into the river. And I believe some more is going to happen. The land is eroding as we speak. So here's a photo of the hoodoos. Now I don't know how much you can see. Later in the evening, you get these wonderful shadows from the hoodoos, and they look otherworldly, I think you'd say. Like witches' spires or something. Anyway, sort of something out of Tolkien, I think. And they're wonderful to photograph and to paint, of course. So here we're going to be doing some swatches, and we're trying to get as close to our color as possible. Now I have a color in my head that's not quite like the photographs, because as I said, they're not really true to the way things are. So we're going to be doing a few swatches like that, and you can see the variety of colors that you come up with. And I've done a warm sage and a cool sage next to it. And we'll do it sort of like this, where you have the warm color and then the cool on top so that you see the contrast. So let's rule our paper here. And here's for the colors. And here's for writing up warm and cool. Now, if you do this, you should be documenting what colors you added to it, because this is one of those colors where you have to use a variety of colors. And the intensity is quite low because it's not a saturated color, it's a grade color. And so we're adding things like white and neutral grays, or creating neutral grays and then adding that to the color so that you get closer to this sage color. So let's start with something simple. I've got phthalo blue here, and we're just going to lighten it a little bit with white, just so we get a sort of middle value. Okay, and then we're going to add a little bit of yellow to it. And that will be our coming towards the warm. Let's add a little bit of the warm gray. Now we're getting sort of in the ballpark. A little bit more of the yellow. I'm making quite a fair amount. If you don't want to make too much, start with the yellow and then add your other colors. So this is pretty close, maybe a tiny bit more yellow. This is for our warm. And we'll set that aside so that we have it for our gel plate print. Okay, let's try this. And so here's our, now that's really close to what we want. Use a fair amount of paint so that it covers the white really well. And clean off. And using a little bit of this, we're going to add just a touch more of the blue. Maybe this is just a lighter phthalo blue that's got a little bit white added to it already. So this is almost a shadow color. I'm going to add a little bit more of the gray. If you wanted to mix the gray, of course, you would just mix a little bit of violet into the yellow. We're keeping with a limited palette today. Now that's pretty good. And we can just do a little spot here in the center. And you can see it's the same value, but it's the cool of the same value, and that's what we want. Okay. So just cleaning my brush a little bit, but not too much because we need sort of that color in there. I'm going to add just a little bit of matte medium. We got to keep it workable. And we're going to add some white. There's a little bit of blue in there too, but that's fine. Okay. some of the neutral gray. That's a golden neutral gray. They put these things out every year. And then we're going to add just a little bit of the light, just to make it greenish. And that's quite a nice color. Okay, we'll put that down. I'll just scrape the rest of this off. And wipe. And we're going to cool that ever so slightly. And we've upped the value just a tiny bit, and we will, let's say, more of a sunlight sage. And we're going to take a little bit of that now down here. And we're going to add just a touch of the phthalo blue, the darker one. We might add just a tad of black. That will also grade a bit more. So let's see about this color. And probably better off using the knife, but we'll try the brush. As you can see, it's very close, just a tad bit cooler. Okay, so let's talk about warm and cool. And then here we had our Naples yellow. I'm just going to abbreviate things. And our white. And then a little bit of the warm gray. And then some phthalo blue. And cool. Just cool that way, and plus more out. And we used a little bit of the light phthalo. Okay, and this one we started with the yellow, and so Naples yellow, and then a little bit of the neutral gray. Okay. And then we used only the warm, or the lighter, light phthalo. And then move that over here, plus a little bit more of the phthalo, plus black. Okay, so that's the kind of documentation you need to do in order to create, say, a color wheel for yourself for, and it could be anything. I'm picking sage because it's such a difficult color, but it could be, say, a grade yellow where you're just trying to get the right tone, like the sandstone color. And with the sandstone, I think, you know, just the Naples yellow and a little bit of the warm gray gets us pretty close, so we're not going to be running that. So that gives you an idea of how to go about this whole thing, and then you have give yourself a little notebook, then you have a record of your colors, and if you need to replicate it at a future time, then it's easy for you. So it's just a good habit to get into. And I don't know if you can see the difference. It's very slight there, but there is a slight bluish tint. So this is helpful because, you know, nothing is just one color. The sage has all sorts of variations depending on where it is as the light hits it. So you'll get, you know, maybe more of this underneath here where it's a bit cooler, darker, and then maybe a bit more yellow as it's moving up towards the white. So if you give yourself, you know, several colors in that range, you're not going to be mixing forever. You know exactly what to go for because you've already done your exercise, right? Okay, so on to the gel plate. We're going to take a little break first, and then we'll set up the gel plate and we'll put into practice what we've learned today. So I've set and registered my gel plate. This is 8 by 10 gel plate. This is just sort of a heavy bond paper, closer to cardstock, with a fairly smooth surface. And we will start just with the black. And we're going to be, I think in a previous episode I told you I was going to do a video where we're printing as we go. So this is one of those times. Because this is the original photograph, which is how I want it to be, right, going this way. And it'll sort of be a mirror image of the first one I did. And so I've flipped it on the computer so that I'll be drawing it from that loosely. So we just see if we can get some of these stalks, whatever, branches. And this one is sort of like two-pronged. And by adding a lot of the medium, we won't have so much of a beading problem. And it sort of goes like this. And then this. And there's a couple here. And the nice thing about this is, you know, you can adjust if you want, if you think that's a little bit too thick. And here. You can add more color into it if you like. And we'll put some of the neutral gray into it. I've got a little bit of sap green there just to, because it's quite a dark color as well. It'll intensify the black. And I want these quite thick because as we print them, we probably will lose them. Not exactly Chinese brush painting because you have this plate to deal with. Okay, and adjust. I didn't want that one quite so thick. All right, and we can pump it up later as well if you want. Okay, good start. All right. Let's do some of the contours of our hillside in the background, just to give us some context. This is on the hillside, looking down on Pothole Ranch. And you can add a few little branches and bushes and things. We have to hurry because things are drying and we're going to have to print shortly. And a few things here and here. We'll see how this prints. So everything stays wet while you're printing on the go. Rather than letting it dry and then putting another layer on top. It's a bit of a challenge because you have to sort of keep track on where things are. And it's not bad. Okay. Change brushes a little bit. Now we probably want, in this one here, you can see how cool these colors are. The sunlight's hitting the top, but underneath here is quite cool. So we're going to maybe look at our first batch and see maybe down in this area and here for what our color is. And of course we've done some mixtures here, so we should be able to pick that up. That's in here. I just have it on the side here. Josh will put it up on the monitor. So the sort of really edgy, let's put lots of medium on it. It's beading a bit, but that's okay. We're going to deal with that. All we want now is sort of a base. And I'm letting it bead because it sort of gives the flavor of the sage. These sort of stringy. It's very much like the way the growth is. When we do the background, we're going to put a layer of matte medium on first. So that's going to be quite interesting. Let's do some of that lower down in here. And you can overlap parts of the stems down in here. You've already got it printed. Okay, that's breaking up nicely. You don't want too much liquid or it's just going to fan out. So pick up any really big puddles. Let's print that and see where we are. Okay, so we have sort of those little spots there. That will have to dry, but not a bad start. Okay, so now we're going to warm things up here close to the top of the sagebrush. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the matte medium. And we'll just polish it on there. I had added a little bit and then it was beading still, so it had a little bit too much water in it. So this was just straight out of the bottle. And then you just sort of polish it on there and hopefully. Okay, now we talked about that the background sandstone is probably just some Naples yellow and a little bit of warm gray. So we'll mix up right here some of that. And this is a very limited palette composition. So we're graying it a tiny bit. And one area looks a bit warmer than the other, so that would be in here. So this section here, oh yes, you see now we're not beading anymore. And we're just going to do rough brush strokes because I want to get the sage down and I'm not so concerned about the background. We'll give it a little bit of detail, but not much. And then it goes a little bit lighter up there. And so it's a bit of white for this area here. The light may be hitting it, I'm not sure. And then down here, now we're going to add a tiny bit of the sap green. And then a little bit of the blue. I said a little bit. So, okay, that's better. And then we'll just pop that in here. Just here. Again, we're hurrying because we have to print it. So, and just as it comes forward, I'll just add a little bit more of the yellow. We'll add a few details at the end, but not much. And mixing is good. Varying. Now hopefully that will print, and on the bottom here it's quite gray, so let's just do our grays, cool grays, with some of our, and then just that's the ground level. There's rocks and things there, but we're not going to go into those kind of details. And back to here, just finishing off this area. We'll see how much prints and then we'll know for sure. Sort of this contour idea, or okay, printing. The Baron might come in handy here. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's not bad. We get the feeling of, I don't know what this is. Fuzzles. No fuzzles allowed. Okay. So now more of the sage, we'll get more of this cool, maybe sort of streaky. Okay, here's our nice sage mixture. Back up in here. Now it seems to me that the light is in here, right? Which is in here because that's reverse. And we're not covering up all our nice little details that we put on first, but it'll be in the background. Now that's very close to the idea I have in my head of what sage looks like. It's not a blue, it's not a gray, or it's not a green. It's its own strange color. It has these sort of variations in okay. Let's print that quick. Now I don't know how many layers we have now. Are you counting?
3 or 4 by now.
Yes. Yeah, we're getting that sage feeling. Okay, we're missing some of that here. And Most of this is that hillside, but we'll take a few up like this because it seems not quite together there. But all the rest of it looks pretty good. Okay, we have a little bit of that chaos happening that is so typical of sagebrushes. And so now I think we're ready for our lighter areas. And you can see I've left some of the whites so that our lightest areas are luminous. And that's leaving the white of the paper. That's a watercolor trick. Okay, we're just adding a tiny bit of the neutral gray to our Naples yellow. And then basically it's just little upward dabs. And you can add a bit of the white to it as well on the side here. All right. So it's sort of higgledy-piggledy all over the place at the top. Not quite all over the place. And little... my brush stroke is sort of dabbing and then widening the brush. And that gives you that look. More of the yellow underneath here. And that will, I'm trying not to put too much paint down because you don't want it to squash and just make a blobby thing. And there's some in the middle here. Sort of coming down. Sometimes you have to adjust nature a little bit so that your composition works. Let's try that. Okay. Okay, so we need to intensify that just a little bit. And the whites in here are good, just a little bit more. So now we can totally get carried away with the white. I'm holding my brush on the side and just dabbing sort of sideways. I don't know why people find that difficult, but I've taught lots of people and somehow they just want to hold the brush like that. And you just about, have to tape their brush to their wrist or something like that to make them undo that. It's very strange. I think it's when people learn to paint and they're kind of uptight about it, and you have to learn to let go and to practice, 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 and make lots and lots of messes, because you don't learn anything unless you do that. I'm going to have a painting burning session. Some of those practices ended up being not bad compositions, but not exactly, where I'm at now. So off they go. You don't need to keep what you don't really like very much. Okay, let's do more on this end. Just mixing the white just ever so slightly. And then we're probably going to get into the pure yellow as well. Let's print that. Right. Okay, so you need to make some distinction between the background and the tops of the sage. And then we're just going to get the pure Naples yellow, which is a gorgeous color, one of my favorites. And we're just going to place it here, there, and everywhere. And the whole piece is about subtle variations in this very limited palette. And to get the flavor of the Chilcotin, because it is a sandy, dry area, almost desert-like, with these wonderful sage plants everywhere and lots of other plants. And it actually, that area is a prairie reserve. There are grasses there that are precious, ancient grasses, and it's an actual protected area as well, just on the hill before the actual canyon, before the bridge, which is now being closed off because it may be that bridge will actually collapse. So, and it's just being rebuilt too, because there was a fire. It was a wooden bridge, and some kids were playing on it, and they accidentally lit the bridge on fire, and it burned. And so they replaced it. So now they may need to replace it again. Ah, yes. Okay. So we might need, let's put a few little black branches in. And I'm going to just push back that background a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to that. Let's, we'll take a break, and I'm going to add just a few more detailed branches, but we'll need that to dry, otherwise it will smudge. Okay, so back to the black here and a little bit of the neutral gray. just rolling my brush so I get a nice fine point. And then we're going to just add a little branches here and there. Maybe a little darker. It's a lot easier to get fine lines on the gel on canvas than on the gel plate, but you can work at it. And then there was some grayed ones here at lots at the base. So. We can just be fairly spontaneous. Just roll your brush. Oops, all sorts of. Not all of that will print because it dries really fast, but we'll give it a good shot here. Okay. Yeah, that sort of says what I want down here. Okay, then I'm just going to try glazing over the background. Okay, we don't want it too cool because we've got our cool here in the sage, the color. So we're just going to use our yellow and take some of the neutral gray here. A little bit of the warm, that's better. And see, okay. Back in here. I'm going to do a little bit and then we'll see what it looks like. That's up in here. Yeah, see how that takes that down? Okay, not too bad. We just want to highlight the tops of the sage. And then there's that section in here. Add a wee bit more of the blue. Yeah, and be careful. There. We've already given some details here, so we don't have to add a lot more. With a few little bushes and things. But it's all about the sagebrush itself and not so much about the background, so we're basically just covering. Giving sort of a contour feel of it. Let's print. Okay, yeah. I think that pretty well says what I want it to say. I mean, we could put more color in between, you know, between the sagebrushes here and there, just to break up that one color. See what we can do here. Just let the background shine through a little bit. And print quick. I mean, you could go on and on as always, right? A good painting or whatever is not done in an hour or half an hour. Some people can, I guess, but I like to take my time and think about things. Okay, it gives a sense of stage brushiness and the color of the sandstone in the back. A little bit of detail. I might just punch up the detail. Yeah. Here a little bit. A few little things. There's some lines and brushy things happening here. Not too much. Yeah, okay. Sagebrush. Wonderful stuff. Tricky color. And give your hand a try at this and see what you come up with. And when it's allowed, come and visit the Caribou Chilcotin. I think a lot of it's closed off at the moment. One thing is the floods, but also there's still forest fires. But an exciting area to see when it's possible. So have fun with this. Take care. And we'll catch you another time. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share our videos. Bye for now.